geoholic.
All right, here we are at day two.
Day two, kicking it off.
Right, it's our first one of the day.
Yeah.
Getting a bit of a late start today, but it's okay.
That's right. All right.
We got some good ones lined up today as well, too.
Full schedule.
Hang with us. We're going to have some fun. We've got Matt with us. Matt, real quick, just give us your name, who you're with, and what you do.
Yeah, Matt Bainbridge. I'm with Civil and Environmental Consultants. I work out of the Bridgeport, West Virginia office and run the survey practice for our West Virginia operations.
Okay. And how long have you been with the company?
Been there about 11 years. I started the remote sensing practice about 9 years ago, and that's been going about the past decade. It's been a great trajectory.
So how do you define remote sensing?
Remote sensing for us is anything UAV based. So that would be photogrammetry, LiDAR, drone based LiDAR, terrestrial scanning, even Gaussian splats and 3D recreations, reconstructions. That's all of our group.
Gotcha. Do you want to ask him what a Gaussian splat is? Or do you know what it is?
I do know, but I need to hear it again.
Well, so radiance fields, like more visualization, less geometric focus. Radiance fields to instead of recreate the 3D scene, it's more looking at reconstructing views from places you didn't take a picture from.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
Coming back to me.
Very different.
Coming back to me. Whatever. Oh, man, it's so funny. So what do you think of the show so far? You said you've been here before, right?
Yeah, I've been here a few years in the past, and this year's been great. This is a new venue, which is cool.
So nice.
I like this place.
Yeah, this place is awesome.
Seems a little smaller, and I get lost a little bit less here. So, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
So what type of projects are you working on in West Virginia?
We do a lot in By God, West Virginia. We have oil and gas work. We have highways work. We'll do pavement assessments and grade checks through laser scanning, mobile LiDAR in those instances, industrial, student housing. We do a little bit of everything. It may be a more rural state, but we do all of our services in-house.
Yeah. Just in West Virginia, or do you guys multi-state?
Oh, we go across the country. We have offices in about 38 states, I think.
And they got an office in Phoenix, right?
We have Phoenix.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Actually, we have two in Arizona, one in
Tucson,
Phoenix, one in Tucson.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been amazing growth. When I started 11 years ago, we only had maybe 10 offices and 300 people.
Wow.
We're up to 1,500 now across the country.
Yeah.
It's
employee owned?
growth. Yes, 100% employee owned.
Wow, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's been great.
I think our good friend Nate went to work for
Nate Gardner.
Nate
Well,
Gardner.
he's in Tees Valley in West Virginia.
What?
Or wait, no.
He's in Phoenix.
He's in Phoenix.
Yeah, or Tucson, actually.
Right.
Tucson.
Sorry, different Nate in West
Yeah.
Virginia.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, if Nate moved to West Virginia, I would be surprised.
No, yeah, he came on as a survey lead out there.
Yeah. He's a good guy. Like Nate a lot. We'll have to let him know that we give him a plug.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't get
For sure.
doesn't get a lot of plugs from us these days.
No, but
Hook him up. Oh yeah, we see him all the time. He's a great guy.
yeah, he's awesome.
Are you all from out there?
Phoenix?
Yeah, we're based in Phoenix.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so you said you started the remote sensing group like 10 years ago.
Yes.
So what are some of the most significant advancements that you've seen over the last 10 years when it comes to remote sensing?
When we started remote sensing, it was with a Leica P20. And so we built a whole business around that sensor for probably the first couple years.
Yeah.
We got into drone-based LiDAR, mobile LiDAR about a year and a half in. And that was the game changer. To start collecting with a drone, to start collecting with a vehicle, to expedite what you can collect. With enough survey control, it was almost as accurate.
Yeah.
So that was the game changer probably in 2017.
So what about now? Talk about how, the advancements that have happened as far as the hardware go and the software.
Yeah, especially, I guess the combination, the hardware on the imagery side seems to have progressed a lot, where we have 100 megapixel sensors available on a UAV. We can create millimeter inspection models from that. That's been an incredible game changer for a lot of our departments in the company.
How big is that? How big of a unit do you need to get that accurate?
In photogrammetry, we have 62 megapixel UAV sensors, and then the phase 100 megapixel sensors. That's really all you need to get down to a millimeter, but it takes a lot of photos, a lot of overlap, high overlap to reconstruct that where you can see the wood grains in a wooden bridge or, you know.
What do you think about this? There's been there seems to be like a renaissance in photogrammetry.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think photogrammetry and radiance fields, NERFs, Gaussian splats are going to have a convergence. It seems like the depth of information you're able to have with radiance fields is going to complement the geometric information you're able to get through photogrammetry. When you have scaled Gaussian splats or radiance fields that you can start using for AEC applications, that'll be the next big leap.
Yeah. How far away from that are we, do you think? Not very far.
No, not far at all. I figure the next year.
Next year?
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
You check you check a lot of the radiance field subthreads, and like they're already there. They're already able to scale from these radiance fields and get survey grade measurements from those data sets.
Yep. Do you use any of the like there's services out there where you can, get photogrammetry and stuff like that, or photos like from some of these like satellite providers,
like
or
the commercial
whatever?
ones?
Yeah, like the commercial ones. Do you use those services at all?
Yeah, I've seen some of the satellite data for elevation information. They'll do every 6 months or so a collection in an area. So, but the resolution on those data sets is so large. Like if you have a 3-foot pixel size on their imagery, you're not necessarily able to use it for what we're looking for on landslides or finding existing conditions, scarp lines. I don't know that it's there yet, but I know satellites are coming a long way.
Yeah, everything's advancing at such a rapid rate. It's insane.
Yeah.
What about walking around here? I mean, like, I was blown away when we first walked in here, and like the reach of Hexagon and what they're involved with.
Right.
It's just mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, from my perspective, we only get involved with the photo side, the camera side, the geospatial side, scanners. Seeing every year when I come here what Hexagon is involved with on the automation and robotics, it's amazing. I'd love to find ways to integrate some of those things. I was just talking to the SUE guys there. I'd love to figure out how to integrate those in our remote sensing data sets.
Yeah. What's stopping you from doing that?
They're not as easily integratable. What you're going to get from some of those SUE data sets are just a shape file or a line. So extracting that data and getting it into the same data set as 3D, that's the trick. Some of the multi-channel GPRs have the ability to give you at least the top of the pipe and the diameter. So with that information, CloudWorks, you can extract some 3D from it.
But it's still going to be limited though, right?
So limited. Type of soil, water content. There are so many limiting factors.
So what else, like since you've been here at this particular show, what's jumping out at you as potential game changer, software or hardware?
I've been in a few sessions that have talked about the limits of AI, GPU processing. I feel like that's the limiting factor right now, is what our hardware can produce in a limited time. We're still clicking a button and waiting 18 hours for 1,000 scans to crank through. So those AI algorithms, Cyclone 3DR is amazing. When they brought those guys on from France, like that program has been a game changer for us in pavement, slope distances, slope analysis, feature extraction, classification.
Are you using a lot of AI for that as well?
Yeah, it definitely uses AI. You can load in a custom model. We've done machine learning classification for years now through different softwares. TBC, Trimble Business Center, offers that. We've done it with LiDAR 360, which is kind of a Chinese manufacturer, but that had custom models built in probably first out of any of them. That was 2-3 years ago now. Now we're primarily using the Cyclone 3DR classification.
Are you starting to use it also on that bridge or inspection side of getting those millimeter cracks identified?
To be honest, we use Epic Games more than anything for those. We're using reality capture. It's given us the best results on those millimeter inspection models. And then a lot of the DOTs, they use MicroStation. So we're providing those meshes in the MicroStation format.
Got it.
3DM.
So what are like some of the challenges that still exist when it comes to reality capture or remote sensing?
Yeah. I'd say your time on site is still your limiting factor to collect laser scans. I would love to have a Leica P50 scan on every job I do, but the time it takes for that scan to complete, I'd love to see a 3-minute collection with a Leica P50 level sensor, with the dual axis compensator, like all those things come into play.
Yep.
If we could get from 15 minutes down to 3 minutes with that level sensor, it's a game changer.
That would be a game changer.
And it's all the camera. That's 11 minutes of taking photos. So
Yeah, it seems like all the hard work takes 3 minutes and then the photos.
right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What about managing all this data that we're now collecting? Talk about that. And
It's a lot about what I built this session around that I'm giving tomorrow. Is we started out with passing hard drives around and I would mail them, FedEx them, whatever. We moved into NAS storage. We still use TrueView, but we had a TrueView Enterprise server where we were hosting on AWS. Now with Cyclone Enterprise, we host a full LGS file online, and any of our other practices across the company or any of our clients, if they have the connector, can load that right into Revit, can load that right into AutoCAD, Plant 3D, whatever. And it streams real time through Jetstream. So that's been a game changer. That's really what I wrote my presentation around.
Awesome.
So basically everybody can access it from anywhere as long as they have the right
anywhere.
And then you're not pulling down the whole thing, right?
Right.
It's just whatever that office would need. That department.
Instead of downloading a 30 gigabyte LGS file, you're able to just open it and then it streams what you need that's in your view at that time. It's slower. You definitely get better performance downloading it, but for most of what our designers need, they're just trying to check it. So it's perfect.
Yeah. Nice.
Interesting.
What about finding people to use this new technology? Is there still a challenge there?
It's a challenge getting some of the legacy folks to understand what point clouds are in the first place. But once they have loaded it in, once they have CloudWorks installed, those couple hurdles on the front end, it's an easy workflow for them to start working with point clouds. And that's what I like best is we're able to provide the point clouds to a lot of the people that really need it and haven't had access to it before.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah. It's exciting.
Yeah.
It's cool
anything
stuff.
else, buddy?
No, I'm good.
No?
Love it.
We packed a lot in of this.
Yeah, right.
Just hammered this guy with questions. And he had a good answer for everything.
Well, he's got his presentation tomorrow. So
I know.
He was prepped.
Yeah, he's
He's a finely tuned machine, this guy. Well, Matt, we really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Appreciate you all.
Yeah, appreciate you coming by.
Anything else you want to get out before we let you go?
No, I think that's it. I appreciate your time.
You bet. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yep. All right, we're back.
I mean, fast and furious. Love it.
Our afternoon is booked solid.
Yeah,
that's the way I like it, though. Yeah, so much good energy in the room. All right, real quick, just start with your name, who you're with, and what you do.
Sure. I'm Jason Haynes with Pennoni Associates, an East Coast engineering consulting firm. I'm the survey division manager for the Philadelphia corporate office and the reality capture director for the company.
Nice. So there's a lot of stuff in this room that you're very
capture
interested in.
director.
Yes. Yeah.
Love that title.
Yeah. Well, that's new.
Is this your first time coming to this conference?
No, this is actually my third Hexagon. The first two I went to one in 2015, and then one in 2018, and then COVID, kind of took a break for a little while. And actually, I'm excited to be able to speak at this one here too.
Nice.
Yeah. What are you presenting on?
Using reality capture and digital twins for historic preservation of a 100-year-old building in Pennsylvania, where we had confined space and a lot of we had a lot of problems with access issues, and the roof was collapsing on the building. The client needed a lot of information from the roof areas and stuff. So combining different two different types of drones, two different types of scanners, and then traditional survey methodology, bringing it all together. So.
Wow. So talk about reality capture and digital twins. I mean, these are two things that have been talked about for quite some time, but it seems like right now, that discussion's at a fever pitch, right? What's going on in that world of things?
It's exciting because we're able to take reality that we see around us, everything that we see, and make it digital to the point where the designs are much more accurate, your returns and your the what do I want to say? The change orders that come in from your construction projects, from your design teams, are much, much less because of your reality capture being more effective. Being able to take the world around you and make it digital gives you the wide opportunity for a lot of different applications, whether it's in your design, whether it's in your historic preservation, being able to preserve the history of the world around us, especially in the Philadelphia area where I am. There's so much history.
Yep.
And so the application of that and reality capture, the technology with the scanners and the drones and everything is changing so quickly that we're able to apply these in much different areas, going into confined spaces to where we don't have to put humans in harm's way. So we're safer, and we're putting the instrumentation into these places to be able to get the information we need. So it's safer, it's faster, it's more accurate, and it's just making the whole design and construction process much, much better.
Talk a little bit more about, you pulled in 5, you said, data sets from 5 different.
Yep.
I'm sure it just all snapped together like,
like a puzzle.
Yeah.
So everything. I come from a survey background, so
Okay.
I am a licensed surveyor in 2 different states, and running the survey department for the Philadelphia office. My background, where I come from, is accuracy first. Everything has to be accurate, and so we start with good survey methodologies. Right? You've got your closed loop traverses around. You're setting good targeting. You've got enough good solid control to be able to tie all of these different pieces together. So we used a P50 for the exterior portions, P50 utilizing its traverse function, because there were some areas of the site that were really narrow, and so we couldn't have traditional targeting for scanners. So we were able to traverse with it, as well as the P50 having it be a mechanical plummet. So it is a true leveled data set. Instead of it being a digital plummet, it's a mechanical plummet. And then the long range portions of it. It has that much longer range than some of the other scanners. So we used that for the exterior areas. Then we used traditional total stations, robotic total stations, to bring control into the building itself. And we use an RTC 360 for all of our interiors. Our RTC 360 is normally our workhorse because it's just so versatile. A lot of times where we would traditionally put out a P series, or before that, even the C10, I started scanning back with the HDS 3000, those old chunky ones, if you remember those.
Yep.
You had to have like a desk and a generator and a laptop and everything. But the RTC 360, it's so fast. It collects so much good, rich information. Even though it is shorter range, it's just so much faster to pick up the scanner and move it again and set it up again to gather that information.
Yeah.
So we had about 300 setups inside of the building itself. It was a 280,000 square foot warehouse building with confined space, 5 different levels of the building itself, high ceilings. It's one of those structures where there's so much infrastructure. There's so much structural elements. You've got some old wood structural elements that in the past 100+ years that this building's been in service, some of that wood is starting to deform and twist. And how are you going to document that otherwise, right? Yeah. Traditional methodologies of having a man lift and a tape measure just don't work in those instances. And so you have to have some other ways to do it. And so we use the RTC on the inside, and then the control that we set on the exterior that we use the P50, that control was also used with our drone. So we put drones in the air to be able to gather all the roof information, because the roof was caving in. So it wasn't safe for us to go on the roof. So you had to use a drone to get it. So we used the same control data sets from the scans as part of the control for the drone, and then everything snapped right in together.
Sounds easy.
Easy button.
Easy button. Yeah. The biggest takeaway I have from what you just said, and I think it's really cool, is you use different tools to do this job, right? And there are so many different ways to collect data in today's world.
Yep.
And talk about the importance of knowing the limitations of all of these tools and the process of making sure that you're picking the right tool for that portion of that project.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to talk about as I go from office to office and group to talk about reality capture, even within Pennoni, I like to talk about how there's different tools in the toolbox. I've got hammers and screwdrivers. Both of them drive hard metal objects into wood, but I'm not going to use a hammer to drive a screw, right? Right tool for the right job.
I mean, you could.
You definitely could.
You break it, and it would take a while, but
yeah, it'd probably mess up the project.
Yeah,
the process,
right.
Or wouldn't be the same anymore. But you want to be able to use the right tool for the right job. Not every project is a drone job. Not every job is a GPS system job.
Yep.
You've got to have the right tool for the right job. But when applied correctly, each tool can really shine. I love the RTC. The RTC is an amazing scanner. It's quick, it's accurate, it gathers an immense amount of information extremely quickly. And what Hexagon and Leica have done with the Field 360 app and some of the improvements they've done on it are amazing. But it's still a line of sight. You still need to set it up on a tripod. You still have shadowing issues in areas to where, as small as it is, it just can't fit. It can't go into, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to be able to overcome those challenges. And so knowing your equipment, knowing what it can do, but also just as important, maybe more important, is knowing what it can do, knowing what your system can't do. As much as I love the RTC and the P50 is, a long range scanner. It is a leveled scan. You can traverse with it, but it takes a while. If you're doing photos on every setup, you're taking 15, 20 minutes for every setup. That's still lightning fast compared to the 3000 where it was an hour for one setup. But knowing the limitations, and that includes your limitations of your drone data set. Are you using a LiDAR with your drone? Or are you using photogrammetry? Okay, what's the accuracy of what you're looking at? What can that be used for? It's been an education of not only our personnel that are utilizing it, but also the end user, talking to the engineers and saying, engineers, okay, just because you have a point cloud, it's from a drone, you have good control, but it's using photogrammetry. So your accuracies are different than if it was a traditional data set, than if it was located with a total station.
Yep.
And so knowing your equipment and knowing the accuracies and when to apply them correctly is vitally important in both your own applications, but also communication with your end users.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned the accuracy, and I have this argument fairly often with people that are doing reality capture that don't have a survey background, that don't use a surveyor to set the necessary control, to develop a proper model and, obtain those accuracies. And like you said, I think there's certain scanning jobs that don't need to be survey accurate, right?
Yep.
But those that do, again, if you don't know better, you need to bring a surveyor on to set that control so you can constrain all that data properly.
A good example of that would be like a floor flatness project, right?
Oh yeah.
If you have a floor flatness project, most of the time they don't care if it's on datum. They don't care.
It's got to be relative.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter if it's off as long as it's flat.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care what datum it's.
Yeah.
It can be a negative 100 or a positive 500.
Right.
Who cares?
Yep.
As long as it's flat.
Yep.
So yeah, it's a.
But do you see a world where that's not a separate project anymore? That's just one thing you get out of a digital twin.
It is definitely, and the world is moving in that direction, especially with the development of a lot of the AI technologies that are coming in. And I'm excited to see in reality capture the use of more and more AI and different things to automate some of these things. But as the time of acquisition starts to become smaller and smaller, of okay, what does the client need? What is that deliverable? Because everything in reality capture and survey as well is deliverable driven, right? What is your deliverable? What are they trying to do with it? That's going to dictate the tool you use and what you produce from it. As the time of acquisition starts to get smaller and smaller, that gap becomes smaller and smaller, then the worlds are going to overlap eventually.
Yeah, and that's what I see. I think there's not going to be a conversation on which tool. It's just going to be, here's the minimum amount of data we need to collect on this building, and these are the 17 things we're going to get from it. There's going to be a floor flatness button. You just push the button and it does it. And there's going to be a tilt button and everything else. So, and I guess making that a question, how far do you think we are from where those worlds are colliding, where It's just everything. You're just going to 3D scan everything all the time, and it's
Well, I
not
think-
going to be separate projects.
I think the conversation maybe needs to go, instead of talking about everything's going to be 3D scan, what if we don't need to actually 3D scan it anymore? What if the scanners are the old technology? On a long enough timeline, you start to look at some of the other AIs that are out there, like your NERFs or your Gaussian splats, stuff like that,
Mhm.
to where they, at this moment where we're sitting right now, it's not a reality capture tool. You can't really use it for what we're talking about for on any of this stuff. But on a long enough timeline, yeah, that's probably going to start to replace a lot of the 3D scanners, to where you're just going to walk through with a camera, put it through an AI system to generate your point
Mhm.
clouds, and that's what's going to come out of it. Eventually, on a long enough timeline, I think that all of the technology is eventually going to change.
Right.
And then when that starts to happen, then the professionalism, honestly, and it sucks to say it, but the professionalism of the surveyor, of the field crew chief that needs to know how to use a total station, that needs to know how to use a scanner, that needs to know how to function this stuff, is going to turn into my 9-year-old son walking around with an iPhone. And
Right.
it's just taking a video of everything and pumping it through the system.
Or I think they can surgically insert LiDAR sensors into our eyes. And that's going to be like linked to a cloud somewhere. And you just walk around, you're just scanning all day long. Just walking around, scanning.
Remember the movie Prometheus? Did you guys ever see that movie?
Yeah.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
It's like the predecessor to Aliens, right?
Oh, okay.
There's a part in that movie, I don't know if you remember, where they release these, they open a box and these drones come flying out. Now they look like spheres, but they're drones essentially. And they work as a swarm hive mind, and they fly around and they generate a 3D map. In the movie, they're generating a 3D map of this structure, but all autonomously from these little drones that are working in a swarm together. I mean, eventually that's going to happen.
And it
awesome.
seems like we're trying to get the LiDAR scans to look more like a picture when we just can have a picture and
Yeah.
figure it out the other way. You know,
True.
and you're just going one way or the other, ending up.
One
Wow.
more like project related question. Talk about the importance of like asking clarifying questions in the beginning.
Sure.
So that, again, going back to making sure you're using the right
Sure.
tools and making
Yeah.
sure that your client is really asking for what they're asking and if they really need it.
So I know that in your guys' other podcasts, you kind of go in the more long form versions. You have kind of what's your mantra kind of a deal.
Yeah,
That's one
yeah.
of the questions you guys
Yeah.
ask.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a couple, but we're not on that form of a type of podcast right now. But one of them that I talk about with my team that I'm always driving into them is purpose of the survey. That's one of the things I ask them every single time they bring me a plan, every single time they bring me something to review. One of the first questions I'm driving in is, what is the purpose of the survey? Because at Pennoni, you know, we try to make sure that we're talking to our clients, that we have that conversation with them, knowing not just, you know, there's some guys, I ask them, what's the purpose of the survey? Well, they want a topo plan. Well, no, that's not the purpose. That's not the purpose. That's the topo plan is one step along the way towards their purpose.
Right.
But what is the purpose?
Yeah.
You know, do they want a building addition? Maybe they need a topo for that. Maybe it's an Alta because they're trying to sell their property for financing. Maybe they're, depending on what the client needs, and truly having that relationship. And that's one of the things that I like about at Pennoni is we try to understand that it's a relationship with our clients, and having that relationship and really understanding their needs and being able to apply the technology and the resources and what is needed to accomplish those needs. More so than if you have somebody that reaches out and says, "Hey, I want a 3D scan of this building." Okay, let's take a step back. Why do you
I
want
have so many questions.
Right? I mean, that just opens up. You know, anytime somebody comes and says, "All right, I want a 3D scan and I want a BIM model." Okay,
Oh,
BIM. What
yeah.
LOD level are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you going to use this BIM model for? What is the purpose of it? Are you going towards an asset management system, or are you just trying to design new water lines to go in? Right? Those are very, very different deliverables.
Yep.
And having that relationship with your clients, having that relationship and understanding the purpose of what they're going to use it for is critical. And once you truly have that understanding, then you can say, okay, based on that understanding, this is a GPS job because I'm just locating manholes through your township. Or this is the scan job because this is confined space and I have to be able to get into that manhole without having confined space entry.
Yep.
So those are very different deliverables. Similar product of where we're locating manholes, but a different deliverable. So you apply different technology.
You ever think about how like construction projects, there's like specification books like this thick and everything has got some, and then like in some of those, it's like, oh yeah, just go 3D scan it.
Yeah.
Like there should be a book this big about what you actually, I mean, I'm going through that right now where when the job started, we didn't ask those clarifying questions. It was, we need to 3D scan this.
Yeah.
Oh, Rev 5 or something now, just because the end user is like, well, we need it for this other part. Well, if we would have known that,
Right.
and if you would have told me up front what you're looking for, this would have been done 6 versions ago.
Yeah. Good point. Well, give Pennoni a shout. Sounds like a great company to work for.
I like it. Yeah.
And tell us what's good about it and why you love working there.
So Pennoni, I do love working there. I've been there for 20 years now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good
It's
for
been
you.
a good long time. I started my surveying career in San Diego, California.
Okay.
My uncle owned an engineering company. He's retired and sold the firm. But during the summers in high school, I worked for my uncle as kind of the third man on a survey crew, the gopher kind of guy.
Yep.
And kind of got the bug at that point, started my career and then went to another firm in San Diego, got married to a Philly girl. That's how I wound up out in Philly.
Got it.
So been with Pennoni since 2004, and it's been, Pennoni's an ESOP company. It's an employee owned company. So all of us have that sense of ownership and that sense of pride and wanting to do what we can to help move the ball down the field and do what we can for the firm and to make sure that all of us are doing well with it. And I've loved working for Pennoni because they give that opportunity to people to be able to grow, to be able to move forward, to pursue kind of some of these pursuits. I was a part of the original team that brought scanning to Pennoni in 2006. There were 5 of us at the time. Some have retired, some have moved on to other endeavors and stuff, but I'm the last one of that original 5 still with Pennoni since 2006. And that old HDS 3000, we still have it in a closet by my office, and it's
that's cool.
Gigantic thing.
Yeah.
And then, I brought drones to the Pennoni in 2008, and Pennoni's been really well. And they like to have they like to say that we want to be on the cutting edge, but not on the bleeding edge. So
it's a good mantra, by the way.
Yeah, it's another one, right? We want to be able to invest in the technologies and invest in the future because we have that innovative kind of look forward, right? That look forward of we want to move the ball down the field. We want to keep going. We want to look at what's next so that we can stay ahead. And we want to encourage the people within the firm, the employee owned firm, to be able to continue that and pursue that as they want to. So it's been great working for Pennoni.
So cool. So impressed. Super impressive, man. Anything else you want to get out there before we let you go? What are you excited about here at the show?
I'm excited, seeing the robots and stuff during the keynote, the Eon. I want to take a look at that a little bit more.
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. I got to see that.
Yeah,
I missed that. Yeah,
it's pretty exciting. I'm liking some of the HXDR reality cloud stuff and the partnership with NVIDIA and being able to do some of the visualization. Pennoni, we have taken all of our deliveries nowadays have turned into digital deliveries, right? The days of paper print deliveries have kind of not completely disappeared because there's a lot of municipalities that still need that stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of old school that really still like the paper prints, but a lot of what we do is digital deliveries. So we created at Pennoni the Pennoni Digital Labs. And we've got 3 different sections of that. Awesome. I head up the reality capture group as the first one. Yeah. And then we've got our visualization and simulation section. We call it PFX, Pennoni FX. And I'm hoping to be able to combine some of the stuff I saw today with the NVIDIA and everything like that and try to partner with that stuff a little more. So I'm excited to bring that back with me and talk to the team about it. And then that third bucket, that third area also going into a lot of what we saw with Octave. And is that what it is? It was Octave, I think, during the keynote. Going to asset management is that following the life cycle of a project, right? Yeah. Capturing it, visualizing it, and then maintaining it in asset management.
For sure.
So I'm excited to be able to bring some of this stuff back with me. Talk to the team.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Awesome.
What else you got, buddy? Anything?
No, I'm good.
Great conversation.
Yeah.
Some amazing conversations today.
So far, it's been a phenomenal day.
It really has. It really has. Well, thank you again for your time.
Yeah,
this has been great.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
I will.
Thanks.
Thank you guys for having me.
You bet.
Let's keep going.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
We've got a familiar face here with us,
We
Mr.
do.
Gavin
or
Schrock.
a familiar voice.
Familiar voice, yes.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here. And we also have Shane Regan
Yeah.
with us. So first off, Gavin, for everybody who doesn't know you, just tell us, well, obviously we know your name, but who you're with, kind of what you do, and why you're here at the event.
Oh, okay. Well, my day job, I'm a geodetic surveyor, land surveyor.
Yeah.
But a side gig is I write for geospatial magazines,
Mhm.
surveying magazines. But I'm here as a freelancer for about 6 of those magazines.
Yeah.
And I always want to identify what is the coolest thing at a conference for surveyors, the geomatics community.
Yeah.
And I found an oddball one. I saw it first up at the Go Geomatics Expo in October.
Yeah.
But they didn't demonstrate it or show how it worked. It's an oddball looking thing, but it's freaking amazing. Really focused for the building and construction trades. But I'm going to say technically I could survey with it. The precision is there, but Sean, we wanted you to explain how this thing works. It looks like a little one-sided, lopsided total station, but micro, and you got this big ball with polka dots on a pole. But
What is the ball with polka
Yeah.
dots?
What is happening here?
Yeah, no one's answered that yet.
And real quick, Shane, just a quick self-introduction for yourself before you jump into this.
So my name's Shane Regan, and I work for Hexagon Geosystems, and I'm the director for our Icon building construction portfolio.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have our traditional Icon build robotic total stations, but now we also have our brand new Icon trade solution, which is what everybody's interested about. For us, it was breaking the mold of what you expect from someone like Leica.
Okay.
So we could have just brought a new total station, but we know the world is different. We know, especially in construction, we have a lot of people that are in construction that, survey technology sometimes it's too much of a jump. Okay, so we wanted to bring something that not only combined what we have from our history of 200 years as Leica, but also some of the technology that we use inside of our manufacturing intelligence division and the metrology tools. So we created this new, small, compact construction tool, which also utilizes computer vision technology.
Computer vision technology?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and
that's
this,
the part that blew me away. Yeah.
so not is it just angles and distance, but now it's also recognizing the objects that we teach it. And
Okay.
that's why we have 2 devices. So we have the large one, the V-Sphere, which is designed for your construction layout, which up to 50 meters, 150 foot range. But then we also have a really cool small V-Pen, which then is designed for a lot of our interior finishing and digital templating trades. So when you want a really cool, nice, expensive stone countertop, you don't want any mistakes.
Sure.
And neither do the guys who are measuring it for your house.
Sure.
So if you're getting a renovation done, now you can get it.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So these guys need super accuracy. So with the pen, we can achieve 1 millimeter accuracy at
Wow.
10 meters, 30 foot.
Interesting.
Okay.
So the computer vision technology understands a sphere.
Yep.
And then what we do is we actually print perfect circles onto that sphere, because then when we're tracking it, not only do we get sick stuff in terms of tilt, but we also get orientation. And it's by having that combination, that means that you can actually measure it any direction that you want
Oh, wow.
with the solution.
Well, the surveying rod, the AP20 was like the first tilt rod. There was tilt
Mhm.
on GNSS, but the AP20 is this tilt rod. You can use it indoors.
Yep.
Anyhow, for layout, because I test drove that, layout is amazing. And then just shooting anything and not even having to look at the bubble, all the blah, blah, blah. But when they said they use computer vision for the orientation, I was like, what? And then that explained that big spear with the red poke. And I understand red, the color, the contrast between the white and the red is a sort of a special thing.
Red is actually the most visible difference between the white that the system can see and track
Interesting.
so much
Yeah.
better as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. You'd think it'd be black, right? But
Interesting.
But because black absorbs light, but actually red doesn't do it. So when you have light absorption, that also impacts on the tolerances that you can achieve, the accuracy you'll get.
Yeah.
So red was a better choice color.
Yeah, because it's on the other side. It absorbs the least.
Interesting. So what makes this a game changer?
It really opens up and redefines the expectations that you would expect for digital templating, interior finishing, and construction layout, because the device auto levels to around about 3 degrees. So it's our first device that auto levels in that way for these applications. The computer vision technology is opening up so many different opportunities and ideas of what we can do now with true tilt technology. You look at our manufacturing intelligence division, they've been working with the likes of aerospace and automotive for years with the trackers that they have as well. And now we're starting to see this come into the technology. It just speeds the entire process up. So much better.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. I was talking to one of the users that when they went and they laid out 200 points inside, and they laid out 200 points. They went back later with the total station to hit about 50 of them, and they said everything was eighth of an inch.
Yeah. Yep. That's amazing.
Okay.
So does this instrument have a traditional scope on it, or is it something totally different?
Something totally different. So it's and this is why we have a brand new software, the Icon Trade software.
Okay.
Because we didn't want to be kind of blinkered by our history of what we have in other softwares. So here we had the full flexibility of how do we maximize that computer vision and also then what the instrument sees. So when it's trying to track an object, historically with our total stations, we have to tell it what to find. Here, it's always looking for what it needs to find. So as soon as you walk into view with the pen or the pole, it auto relocks without you having to touch anything. And it's super fast now as well. So you get super clear imagery as well. Even if you want to do your laser based work, that clarity that you have and then the ability just to pick up the crosshair and move it in the image to where you want to be super precise just changes how we think about software and the interactions.
Interesting. So there's definitely an AI component to this type.
Oh yes, we definitely been working hard to get it to learn and understand its environments that it'll be working in and how we want it to perform. And we've still got a couple of ideas of what we can keep doing here.
Yeah, I bet you do. So who are like the target customers or users of this technology, this hardware?
So in the templating and interior finishing areas, we're definitely targeting your steel carpenters. So doing the staircases, your stone masons, your
I was thinking the masons.
Absolutely.
Because you would just have it laid out, and they would just come in and see exactly where it's supposed to go. And
exactly. And then for in the construction layout space, then you're kind of looking at anybody who wants to work on a project, but one of the key areas that we see now where this can truly apply is in the interior fit out as well. So you want to do your drywalling, you want to do your MEP installation. It's designed much more to be in that user friendly space that it can set up and go.
Sure.
Yeah.
And in the past, it didn't make sense for those kind of trades to be using this high tech layout. Now it's just making it a little more accessible. Is that kind of what the goal is?
Absolutely. In the same way that we utilize the BLK 360 to democratize reality capture, we see our Icon Trade solution democratizing layout and making it much more accessible to people.
Sure.
You can as-built with it too.
Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was the other thing, was I thought hard for me to sell it as layout only.
Yeah.
But you can as-built with it.
Sure. Yeah. Like, why not? Right.
You can lay out a measure with it. We would say that so on the interior side, it's all about measurement. As a construction tool, then it's generally probably 80% layout and then 20% your as-builds. So,
So is it taking pictures as it goes?
You can get it to take pictures as it goes. So you store a point, you can get it to take an image. That's very much application dependent. Whether people need it.
Gotcha.
That works really well on the interior fit out space or the interior finishing space.
Yep.
Because a lot of the time they have to transfer those measurements back to the design teams. And again, we're back to the age old, a picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
So if a measurement doesn't feel quite right to the design team, then they can look and understand why.
Yeah.
So
Is that one of the hurdles you have to get over of the design? Because you're kind of going into the design team in these trades is not used to seeing this kind of stuff, right? I mean, they're used to pictures and field fitting or.
some of them are, but actually they're,
Oh yeah.
they're very digital in their space, especially when they get into kind of, when you've got high end, kind of finishings coming in, a mistake to these guys is a huge amount of money.
Okay.
So they want to avoid as many mistakes as possible, because if they have to cut a second granite work surface.
Yeah, that's Spanish quartz or whatever.
Exactly. You're not shimming that.
Right.
You can't plug it. So these guys really, they are very, very precise in their workflows and their designs, because when it has to be right for them, that really is a financial situation.
Total stations are actually very common. I tour a lot of construction sites, some big ones around the world.
Yeah.
More in Europe and Asia than here, but total stations, they've got a lot of kit. And there's some construction layout folks, I think, spend more time on their total station than most surveyors. Don't want them doing boundary work, but the overhead with that is you got a steep learning curve. And I look at the workflow on that, and I could see potential for some screw ups along the way. You got to level the bubble every time, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
This, there's some purpose-built total stations for layout. There have been for a long time. Like Hilti has one, and then you got your AP20 and all that. But this was the first one that was like, vision? What the,
Yeah,
completely different.
So cool. So what about the data collector or the field controller that goes along with it? What does that look like? Is it a tablet type thing?
It's a tablet, yes, exactly. Because here we're working with designs, whether we're creating design or whether we're using design for layout. So it has to be visually driven. You want to be in your data. You want to be working with your data. So whether as you're measuring, you see these live measurements build up. So whether you're doing point line, polyline, auto intersection for cornerings as well. In the layout space, really, we've adapted it to be just tap and go. So, and here we've even changed, and we've had the great ability to change with the computer vision and that orientation of the sphere that we use, that we no longer have to rely on having to face the instrument as we historically do. Because we can turn on the spot. Now we can start bringing a layout space in the same way you use Google Maps. You Google Maps, you turn, it turns with you. You have a compass. So now we have a compass. We turn you to your point, and then you just walk towards your point.
So is it what do you upload like a CAD or a DXF file into the tablet? Like traditional stakeout is like, you upload a text file, you have a point plot, you stake out to point 253. Right.
So now what we need to do is kind of get away from data conversions. That's the goal here, is to try and get the construction teams that need to use it to work with the latest and most reliable designs that have been signed off. So here we can take the CAD file, we can take your DXF, your DWG, we can still take a list of points, but we can also take IFC data. So now we can take an IFC data. So if you need to lay out a wall, you can select your wall and then select the line you want to lay out.
And it'll just send you to it instead of having to send it to the office and somebody sending back calcs and then
Exactly.
And how is all of this, like, for lack of a better term, calibrated to the site control?
So with our historic total stations, then we use the control that's on site. So we can still do the same with this. So it can measure to a round prism. It can still measure refracted shots. But what we also have now is we have our now unique retargets, which are square targets with a RUCO code on them, kind of like a QR code. And you can get these, and they can be installed then by the survey team for the project, so that when the guys come in onto the site, then they literally put the instrument down, it auto levels, and then you can also get it to auto setup. So you can say, just find my target and tell me where I am.
Yep.
So again, we're putting a lot more automation into the routines.
Yep.
Because the focus should be getting to work.
Yep.
And doing the work, not having to spend time to get yourself ready to work.
Yeah. Hey, another easy button, it sounds like,
that's
right?
what it sounds like.
Hit the easy button.
I'm here, auto level. Set me up. Find me that wall.
Calibrate me.
And take me there.
Take me there.
Well, that's where the scanners are going as well. Is
that's
okay.
true.
You've got the targets they auto recognize, and then the auto feature recognition, and these things are going to get so damn smart. Like that robot, humanoid robot has 22 sensors in the head.
Unbelievable.
Okay, what can that? And the AI that's 2 giant AI drives in it, but it's going to walk a site, recognize stuff, and go get me coffee.
I mean,
Why not?
it's amazing what we're now starting to see that we can do with measurement
Definitely
technology.
amazing.
I mean, our entire existence is to find problems that we can solve with measurement solutions. And now when we start incorporating AI and machine learning into these things, the possibilities are just accelerating.
Sky's the limit,
It's
right?
great.
Yep, it's getting crazy for sure.
Cool stuff.
Gavin, Shane. Shane. Shane.
Yeah.
I got Shane and Sean. I did a bunch of interviews yesterday. My brain's turned to mush.
What's different?
It's different than the other day. But anyways, where I was trying to go with this, do you guys have anything else you want to get out there before we let you go?
How new are you? I mean, are you guys releasing, or a lot of people seeing this for the first time here?
So we released last September, end of September, into Geo in Germany. Which was hugely phenomenal. There's been a couple of shows here in the US where we've got it too. This kind of ties earlier on in the year, which was also here at Vegas. It's a kind of a big stone and surfaces exhibition.
Oh, nice.
Yes, but I'm
really sure you got a lot of interest from out of there.
It's going very well. It's going very well. But we're also learning a lot. Because when you bring a new technology, then it's not just our ideas; it's everybody else's inspiration.
Yeah, can this do this? And I haven't thought about that, but I'm sure it can.
We're getting lots and lots of really positive feedback, and everybody's excited to see it.
Wow.
And just try it.
Cool.
Yeah, talking to some, because when I saw it in October, but when I got to talk to some users, I went, okay, my instincts weren't too far off.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
But anyhow.
Well, Gavin, thank you for bringing Shane over to us. It's been a great conversation.
Shane,
congrats on another amazing piece of hardware here. This is incredible stuff.
I tell you, I am not the brains behind this operation. So, there's a huge team that's put a lot of effort into getting this ready. And, the thanks definitely goes to them for that.
All right. Right.
Live long in process.
There you go.
Nicely done. Appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks very much, guys.
We're getting to the end.
I'm getting a little raspy here, Sean.
Yeah, I know. Well, we talked to a lot of awesome people. That's what's going to happen. We have another one here too.
Yes, we do. Kind of winding down our stay here at Hexagon Live 2025.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to have one next year. Maybe our guest can tell us. But this is our first time here. We've absolutely loved it. And, can't wait to do more events with these guys for sure.
Absolutely.
So before we continue down that path, let's get our guest in here real quick. Just name, who you're with, and what you do.
Okay, hello guys. Thanks for having me. My name is Bernhard Richter. I'm VP Geomatics. I'm looking after all the total stations for surveying, also the GNSS, the digital level, not to forget, and the software around it.
Right on. Well, there's a lot of exciting things happening in that arena, that's for sure. Talk about some of the latest and greatest advancements and some of the stuff you're showing off here.
So
we talked to Hans too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hans. So Hans I asked Hans this morning, and he said he talked a lot about the AP20.
Yep.
So the tilt compensating pole for TPS positioning.
I heard you had something to do with that.
Well, yes, actually it goes back a long way, because the original idea to do tilt compensation without a magnetic sensor is going back to 2009. And
oh, wow.
Isn't that crazy?
That
like you weren't
crazy.
Even, that's a long time ago to have something.
I had no idea.
And the concept is, like in aviation, is known since 100 years that you have pitch roll and heading out of the movement. And this this idea was taken over by a good friend of mine who tried to convince me we can do this on a survey pole.
Mm-hmm.
And it then took 2 years to convince my bosses to give me the money and do all the pre-projects and whether the IMUs at that time actually can deliver the accuracy.
Yeah.
And there wasn't as many IMUs and MEMS-based IMUs in 2010 than there is now. I mean, it's in every cell phone now.
Yep.
And then, yes, we could always prove we might make it. There's always close. Can we get the accuracy? Because we need centimeter level accuracy. That's how we make our money with.
Mm-hmm.
And then, in 2017, we launched the very first tilt compensated GNSS on the pole.
Yeah.
And then everybody else copied us. It was
hopefully you got a patent on that or something.
Yeah, we have certain patents, but it's very hard to patent
really?
physical basics.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
So it was the GS18T and that technology. We knew we want to do it on the total station already back then, but is actually one thing that's complex is the time synchronization. With GNSS, you have a perfect timing, and you can very easily synchronize the IMUs.
Yep.
But on the total station, that was a bit harder, so we had to figure that out. And and I think 2 years ago, we launched the AP20 at InterGeo and can now do the same. It's actually even more accurate on the AP20, even the IMU, because the piece itself gives a better accuracy in a relative sense. So it's really nice and it's more accurate than leveling up by hand. So that's
amazing.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
nobody else has it yet on the total station. So
there you go.
I give it 1-2 years and then
I think it will be soon out.
Yeah,
I really think so.
So
but it's helping us when others develop the market. So it's not only a disadvantage.
Yep.
So what is it like being on the forefront there, and you're creating something where, like you said, the IMUs weren't really that prevalent, but did you know that they were going to be in phones and you'd planned on it being, and then did you plan on that technology also advancing while you're kind of in the middle of this? Like, seems like you're chasing a moving target a little bit.
I think that's what drives me, right? To take it to the push the boundaries and take it to the edge, and not knowing will we succeed somehow. But it was evident because MEMS or MEMS-based IMUs went into iPhones, iPads, lawnmowers.
I mean, that had to be exciting for you guys, right?
Yeah, and so it was natural that they'll just because of the volume, the price will go down. But they also, some applications need more accuracy, and so we thought it was one of the few times where we use pure consumer components and bring that into industrial or professional products.
So what kind of like high level voodoo mathematics goes into figuring something like this out? Like there's so much happening in this equation, right?
Yeah, yes. So you need to ask our algorithm guys. I mean, I used to program algorithms 25 years back, but the very smart mathematicians and physicists in our company who figured it out. The principles are simple, but then to really write the algorithms with all the side effects you can have and the noise you get from all the sensors, that's really the art behind it to make it robust. Because to reach this plateau of productivity and then not just be excited about a trend could work. So we need to bring it to the market when it's really working reliable, and also when we can give a quality indication. It's no point in giving you a position unless you can tell your user how accurate it is.
So was there like a breakthrough moment when everything just finally came together and you're like, bam, that's it, we got it?
So if you ask me for the moment in my career, because I said it drives me to bring out new products. it probably was the moment when we knew we can do it, and it's solving a big customer problem.
Right.
Because we have let me explain this one application. We have a customer in Canada who had to stake out 250,000 points for a solar panel farm.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
And he said, only if I save like a couple of seconds on every point,
Yeah.
it's a couple of man-months.
Yeah.
We saved him
Right.
That's crazy.
in his work. So these things felt good because typically I only get the problems of the users and not so much the things our equipment does very well.
Have you had any other use cases like that where it just made you feel like this all made sense and it's all worth it?
There's many of those. I mean, I remember that the time when we discussed, do we need to add more satellite systems like GLONASS and then Galileo, because we never knew, will it really work? Will the European government have enough money to build the Galileo system, because it was always delayed. And it's never easy to make the right investment decision, because of course it helps when you add birds to your algorithms, as you said. And it will make the system better, but you depend on, let's say, other influence factors. Well, a government have the money to bring up the satellite system and all these things. So I think that was another good moment in my career when we managed to bring out more than just GPS, more than just GPS sensor, to add GLONASS, to add then later on Galileo, to add the Chinese system, and we were always one of the first ones. And then again, the other copied us. So these things feel good, because you need to be ahead of you need to try to be ahead of the game.
Yeah, no doubt. So, like Sean always likes to ask, what's going on in the lab now?
Well, that was my
kind of like
question.
mad scientist.
I know you're not allowed to talk about it,
Yeah.
and you gotta swear everybody to secrecy. But well, what's next?
Without giving too much away, of course.
I think how do I say this? I believe a lot will move into the cloud. So what do I mean with this? We believe data moves across easily, but sometimes it's not as easy as it should be. And there is a lot of small things we can do for our customers so that the data moves much easier between ecosystem. And for me, one big thing is like portal to portal connectivity, because the data not only lives in one software ecosystem. So it's not enough if it lives in a Hexagon or Leica software ecosystem. We need to connect to other ecosystem, like an Esri ecosystem. And this is where it's so important that the ecosystems and the portals can talk to each other. So a lot of the innovation, I think there's a lot more potential to innovate on the software service and cloud side of the thing. Because on the GNSS side, I'm fairly sure it's very matured. You can always bring on extra sensors, LiDAR and cameras. And yes, but to really solve problems, it will happen more and more in the
Interesting.
And then AI will help big times to automate things, to this whole digitalization we're talking about. There's still too many people who have a paper plan in the field. That still exists, and I think there is no need for this. And collaboration is another big thing. So I think we heard a very good keynote today, where it's very important that the different crews and the people in the office work well together. This is even easier to align them, and that they really collaborate, let's say, and sync the data automatically. This is where there's a lot of potential still.
Yeah, the idea of always having the latest and greatest design. There's never a gap between RFI number this. It's a live version of the same, basically the same data set that everyone's using from.
Yep.
And this is what Microsoft did so well with their SharePoint, their Teams,
sure.
Outlook, Word, everything works together as one software suite, and you can collaborate. So
that's true.
This needs to come in our industry as well.
It's kind of downstream.
Yep. Well, it's all happening. A lot going on.
Yeah.
A lot going on.
What else are you excited about?
Here, in Vegas, so I'm still jet lagged, so I have to party a lot.
Yeah,
no, it's very cool things I see here, and gives me a lot of new ideas. In particular, really, what AI can do for us, and deep learning, and there's quite a few things you can look forward.
You know, it's amazing, like the whole AI conversation, and like that's all you hear about now, you know, but it just like kind of slowly came to a head, and now it's like everything everybody's talking about.
Well, as soon as it seems like that's the first answer to all the problems, or it's the first solution to all the problems now, and that's been in the last year. Feels like
crazy.
I don't think it's a solution to all the problems. I rather talk about
and I don't either. I just think that when you ask somebody, everyone has some AI solution to everything, and I think that's the first thing you go to instead of taking the tried and true.
Yeah.
One thing never changes. If you want to be successful with a product, you need to solve true customer problem, and no matter it's AI or not, it needs to solve a customer problem, and you're using deep learning or machine learning in order to solve customer problems. So that hasn't changed. It just gives you way more possibilities to solve customer problems.
Yeah, I love it. Good stuff. Well, thank you, my friend. This has been a great conversation. Pleasure to meet you.
Okay.
Yeah, did great.
Enjoy the rest of the show.
Yeah,
okay.
Appreciate everything.
I have a feeling we're kind of winding down.
I think so.
Yeah. It's going to be a good one. Potentially the last one of day two.
Maybe.
But we'll see, kind of see where things go. We got Liam with us. Liam, if you would, real quick, just give us your name, who you're with, and what you do.
Yeah. My name's Liam Thierens. I'm a partner and the Spatial General Manager at Bennett, and based on the east coast of Australia.
Awesome.
I heard that's where all the magic happens, is on the east coast of Australia.
The East Coast? There you go.
No, it's the place to be. We've got the Olympics coming in 2032.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we're getting everything ready for it. So,
yep. So are you, like, where do you live then?
I personally live on the Sunshine Coast, which is 1 hour north of Brisbane.
Brisbane, okay.
Got it. Yeah, our business is sort of southeast Queensland focused, which Brisbane, Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, and then we're in sort of the northern New South Wales area as well.
Yeah, that's exciting. I know we had a couple people on, I think, in the past from Bennett and Bennett.
I think so.
And I know we really enjoyed that conversation. So talk a little bit about the company first and foremost.
Yeah.
You know, just a little bit of background about it. You know, a little bit about the culture, and just why you love working there, basically.
Yeah, so look, Bennett started by two brothers on the Gold Coast back in the 60s, and essentially started doing a lot of the high-rise construction when the Gold Coast sort of boomed in the 60s and 70s.
Yep.
And so that's sort of our roots, and recently we've grown significantly. In fact, even doubled in size over the last 3 years.
Wow.
And we got now we're 250 staff.
Nice.
Definitely the largest surveying company in Queensland, and one of the largest in Australia.
Yeah, that's exciting.
Is it primarily surveying? Is that your core business?
Yep. So, look, we're essentially a third property development, which is cadastral surveying, town planning, and then there's construction surveying is a third of the business. And then the other third of the business is anything spatial and geospatial data acquisition, which is essentially my area.
Yeah. And what? Talk about what you're seeing here that's getting you really excited about the newest and greatest technology.
Yeah, look, I think we've come so far in terms of hardware over the last 10 years, really, and I feel like there's always room for innovation, but I feel like most of the innovation is in the software
side,
and the processing, and Like already we're spending, well over 50% of the time office based rather than field based now. And so, I think it's improving any of our sort of software workflows and essentially getting the most out of the data.
Yeah, for sure. Then that's been a common theme of most everybody we talk to, because it's cyclical, right? Like it's either the hardware is catching up to the software or the software is catching up to the hardware. But it seems pretty common. What everybody's saying is we're at a point where software is definitely catching up to the hardware.
Well, and I don't think that we've been able to utilize some of the advances in hardware in the last 10 years because of the limitations on data, what can talk to what and what can handle what. And I'm sure you guys how's your experience been in managing these larger data files? I mean, I'm sure that's been evolving in the last 5-10 years.
Yeah, well, the good thing is obviously the computer hardware has come a long way. So, and obviously so is file sizes. I feel like everything's all growing, but we can manage the data a lot easier now, and there's obviously a lot of cloud solutions and things that do make it a lot more convenient. But there's a cost. Like we're capturing terabytes and terabytes of data, and just the cost to manage that data, and that's the big challenge at the moment. To we want to do reality capture on every single project. We're capturing mass amounts of data, but to store and manage all of that data,
is it really worth it?
Yeah, and so that's the challenge. And then so sometimes we've actually kind of been either scaling down or being very aggressive in terms of, what, we're going to get what we need and throw this data on the bin afterwards.
So you mentioned that Bennett like doubled in size in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Is it challenging finding people in Australia that, fit the mold of what you guys are looking for?
Yeah. So, and I think that's probably the biggest success and what I'm most proud of in our business is we've got, in terms of we've been very successful in recruiting, but we're also ones where we've got a step up and leadership program where we develop from within. So we filter in from the bottom, get people in young, train them up. We invest a lot into training and things, and essentially that's really helped us sort of grow as a business, just filtering people. And all of our, I would say 90% of our business leaders have all grown up through the business. They've all sort of, come through. I've been at the business 17 years myself, and started as a trainee, and in fact, even our board of directors have sort of done exactly the same.
Yeah, that's awesome. What do you think so you've been surveying for how long, you said?
I've been surveying for almost 20 years.
20
I started when I was 15.
15,
wow.
wow.
I left school and started, I left school early, started surveying when I was 15, and did uni sort of online while working full time. And so, I got an early start.
There you go.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. What do you think the skill set of a modern surveyor should look like? And you can even compare it to when you started surveying 20 years ago.
Yeah, look, I think, first of all, we've got in the different streams, I feel like to be a very good cadastral surveyor is maybe different to a construction surveyor versus in the spatial sense. In the spatial sense, I feel like you need to understand, have at least a minimal understanding of IT, of software. I feel like you can't just go, oh, I'm a surveyor, I don't know how computers work.
Yeah, it's not anymore.
No, that's a big part of the role. And I think that's really positive when we're seeing a lot of, because we're quite a young company, we've got a lot of young people working for us, and it's really positive to see this next gen coming through that, wow, they're just finding stuff so intuitive that it took me a long time to learn. I never started with that. I was doing everything manual total stations and all that when I started. So it's good to see.
Yeah, that's exciting. So what is this like in Australia? You guys have like city surveyors and country surveyors, right? Something like that.
Yeah, I guess so. So, look, the way that our business runs is, in terms of our local offices, we're city surveyors, really, is how, really everyone that's based out of those offices are, they live in cities, they're generally work in urban environments. But we also do a lot of remote works as well. And so we've actually got a separate team, our major projects team, that work all over Australia, and they're the country. And so, we do have the major projects team, which is, they're the ones that, like to get the boots dirty and get out and push.
Yeah. So are most of your survey crews then, are they equipped with a scanner of some sort? So they have what does your typical crew look like as far as equipment? Do they have a drone? Do they have a scanner? Do they have a robotic tool station? They've got GNSS.
Yeah.
I mean, they've got it all.
Yeah. So, I guess in the cadastral surveying, it's, generally it's a jigger and that's all you need. And probably in the construction surveying, it's a jigger and sometimes a GNSS. But in the spatial sense, it's everything. If we need to do static networks, we've got GNSS there to set up your control, total stations, digital levels. We've got every single type of terrestrial scanner. We've got SLAM scanners. We've got mobile laser scanning systems, airborne systems, drones.
You guys are on the cutting edge.
Look, I feel like we've come a long way. We certainly weren't early adopters 10 years ago.
So what changed? Other than your impeccable leadership?
Oh, I'm just going to say it's all me. No, look. Essentially, we've been open-minded.
Okay.
Like as much as I'm at Hexagon, and I'd love to say we're entirely Hexagon. We absolutely are in the terrestrial scanning space and things, but we're agnostic. We use the best tool for the job. We've been open-minded. We're always challenging the best way to do things, and also it's about doing more with less. There's skills shortage. It's really, even though we've been successful with recruiting, we've never had enough staff.
Right.
And so how can we do more with less? How can we give the client better value? And how can we increase those profit margins? That's what it's all about.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt.
So talk a little bit more about this conference. You come to this one a lot. What are some of the highlights you've seen so far in the last few days?
So I've been once before, back in 2017. I did a talk back then, and I'm speaking again this afternoon in an hour or so. So look, I've been once before, but highlights. Look, to me, it's about the people. It's about networking. I've met some guys from the US that are very similar role to me, similar challenges to me. We could really relate on a lot of things. There's quite a big contingent from Australia and New Zealand that have come over.
Yeah.
And, Australia's a big country. We don't all get together that often. So it's actually good, even though we've all flown the other side of the world, I'm actually networking with all these people in Australia that, that are from, either the West Coast or from down in Sydney and Melbourne and stuff.
Sure.
That I don't generally see. So to me, it's about networking.
Definitely. Good place for that, for sure.
Yeah, nice.
What else? Anything else you want to get out there before we let you go? This has been a great conversation.
No, look, and I'm first to admit that I only recently found out about your podcast. So I'm actually almost keen to go back and listen to some episodes to get a bit of an insight of what you're talking about, because I'm a bit of a survey nerd, and I think geospatial, I love it.
Well, you are our target audience.
Yes,
I can tell you that. What does Bennett and Bennett do well versus their competitors? So we talk about your company a little more. You said it's based from a couple guys started it several years ago. Like, what do you really do well now?
Look, I think we're certainly trusted to provide all round solution. Like we're very diverse in terms of we're just as strong in cadastral surveying than we are in construction surveying that we
Interesting.
in the spatial sense. Literally a third of our business is in each. And, you know, look, we do focus on the larger scale projects. We're not typically doing a lot of your sort of mum and dad 1 and 2 subdivisions and,
Right.
and those smaller scale projects. So we do the bigger end of town and yeah, and we really try to wrap ourselves around the client and you know, cover all bases.
Was that always the plan to have it be well diversified as far as market sectors in your company?
Yeah, look, that's been part of our strategic goals. Essentially, both essentially it's managing risk as
Yeah,
well. Like,
sure.
because, you know, there's certainly times when hey, there's, you know, the property market is, you know, flatter, but, you know, there's all this government spend on large infrastructure projects. So we want to be able to capitalize,
Yeah.
you know, on where it's going hot.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, it does. All right, good stuff. Anything else?
No,
Ready to
I'm
wrap
good.
wrap this up?
Maybe.
I'm glad you saved the best to last.
Yeah, exactly. I was
absolutely.
just going to say that. Thanks, Liam. Safe travels as well.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys.